Battle Royale games are probably the most played games in the world right now, and these are games like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, Overwatch, and many others. But there's one thing all these games have in common. They are all 3D games, some in first person and others in third person mode. So I decided to make a 2D version of a Battle Royale game, and I'll be doing it in 24 hours. So to kick things off, I created a new project file, and it's currently 4:33 p.m. in the afternoon. So I got to work, and the first thing I did was to create a triangle. Then I made it moved, but it moved a bit too fast, so I limited the speed, and now it moves like a normal triangle would. Also, it's not gonna be a battle royale game without shooting, so I made the triangle shoot around, and also as you can tell, it is set in a top-down perspective. With that done, it was already 6:28 p.m., which means I've not made a lot of significant progress in the past 2 hours, so I took a break to rest on my brain and also eat dinner. Then I got back to it at 7:50 p.m. and I quickly made a camera follow script for the game. I also got bored of looking at the triangle, so I opened Photoshop to make this, which is kind of horrible, but I used it anyway since I'm really bad at drawing anything that involves that. I'm very bad at it, and this is it in the game anyways. Next, I decided to add actual guns to the game, and this time around I used assets from opengamesart.org to avoid making another horrible art piece. Anyways, I got 3 guns, the pistol, the rifle, and the shotgun, and then I quickly imported it into the game, placed the guns around the player, worked on its functionality, created scriptable objects for it, and lastly made a weapon switching system. And I was pretty much done with guns, and at this point it was already 10:44 p.m. and it actually felt like I was making significant progress. So since I'm not going to be able to add multiplayer to the game, and I don't even know how to do that here, I'm going to be creating an AI the player is going to fight against, and this was my first iteration, which is just a circle chasing the player around, which is good until there's an obstacle on the way and this happens, which doesn't feel natural at all. To the best of my knowledge with 2D games, the only solution is to use an algorithm called A-star pathfinding, which I'm not so familiar with because I don't do 2D stuff very often. But what it basically does is that it creates grids around the scene and marks out some part of these grids that are not workable because of the obstacles around it. However, since I'm not sure I could pull that off in the next few hours, I tried researching on other ways I could make the AI work perfectly, and I came across a website which already has a plugin for the A-star pathfinding, so I imported that into the project and I quickly tried to make it work, and luckily for me it works perfectly well. And with that done, it was already 11:34 and I was feeling sleepy, so I just went to bed. Early in the morning at 8:06 a.m. I got back to work, and the first thing I did was to change the circle to a black square, which is quite relevant. Then the next thing I did was to make the AI shoot, which didn't go well at the first attempt, but after some fixes with the script, I got the AI shooting the way I wanted it to. And for the art of the AI, I basically changed the colors of the horrible art piece I made the previous day, and then I also zoomed out the camera just to see more of the world. So fast forwarding the time, it was already 10:38 a.m. and I didn't record much of what I was doing. I actually didn't record anything I was doing within this time frame. So I took a few hours break until it was 12:36 a.m. and I tried opening the game project and I got this bug which made my heart skip a bit. And I'm not gonna lie, at this moment I felt like giving up, but after a while I tried opening the game project again and I got all these bugs which were from the codes that I've written before. But after fixing the errors and bugs with the code, the game started running again and I was so relieved. And at this point, while playing the game needed a lot of balancing. For example, the player loses his health quickly when it's being hit by the enemy bullet, so I limited that, and then I worked on some other boring stuff in the game like reducing the enemy health when it hits a bullet, and also killing the enemy when its health reaches 0, and also the enemy now aims at the player when shooting. And lastly, I worked on reducing the G-train of the AI. Then I moved on to working on recording the amount of kills the player has, and also adding a countdown timer to add a little bit of challenge to the game. And for the countdown timer, I searched the script on Google, because there was not much time anymore and I was starting to feel the pressure at this point. I mean, kills. That doesn't make any sense, right? Anyways, the countdown timer and the kill system works now, and it's already 3:51 p.m, which means I had less than 40 minutes left. So I quickly made a simple level by just randomly adding different shapes to the scene. Next, I worked on the game loop by making an enemy spawner that would spawn a new enemy every 3 seconds. And then the last thing I worked on was to make the player die, and it was ready for 28 p.m, which means my 24 hours has elapsed. And yeah, I'm done. Not really, but yeah. This is the final gameplay after 24 hours, which I think is okay for 24 hours project. I'm actually giving myself credit here, which I'm not supposed to, but I actually had fun making the game though, even though I struggled a lot, but I'd like to make more short-term projects in the future. And yeah. Before I go though, I worked more on the game. I added sound effects to it, added post-processing, and I released the game on itch.io just in case if you'd like to play it, and there will be a link in the description below where you can download it. And yeah, thanks for watching my video. Subscribe if you haven't. Also give it a like, and I will see you soon.